We are live. What's up, beasties? Thanks for being here. It's it's Triple B, your friendly neighborhood bearded book beast, back with another episode of Beast Friends Forever with my special guest, Parker C. Wilson, the author of this book right here. How you doing, Parker?
I'm doing really good, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course, I'm excited to have you, man. We planned this a while ago, so I've been looking forward to chatting with you.
Me too. I've been really looking forward to just chatting about fantasy books or just anything that's just connected to it.
Yes, I agree. Because in our normal lives, sometimes there's not a lot of people that want to talk about that stuff.
Right. Unlike us,
Yes.
we thrive
We
off
could
it.
talk about it all day, right? All right, so we got a couple people in the chat. What's that? No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, don't even get me started. Like, I could talk about all kinds of stuff.
Yes, I like it. That's what we're here to do. And don't feel bad. That'll happen a lot. You'll start to talk, then I'll start to talk, and we'll both be like, "Oh, sorry." It happens to me all the time. Never feel bad. It's okay.
It happens at least once with every phone call.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, so we got Senna in here, who was the first one to comment. Senna, how you doing? Happy to have you in here. That was what she said when she was waiting for us to come in. We got a little late start. It happens to me most of the time, so it's okay. You guys know that we'll start when we start. And then we've got Timothy Wolf in here, who is another indie author. I don't know if you've heard of any of his stuff or any of his stuff, Parker.
Oh, I've seen his books and they look awesome. I've seen him on the what was it? Some kind of Comic-Con in New York. That's what I remember his Instagram posts about.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Yep. And he's in that area. So, and then Senna, I don't know if you've heard of her channel, but she does Library on Legs, which is a pretty fun YouTube channel. She has horses. So she does a lot of her videos while taking care of her horses and involves her horses, and it's pretty cool. So
that is so cool.
I know. It's a fun one. And she's just a pretty fun personality in general. But happy that you guys are in here and everyone else that's in here, because not everybody has to comment in the live chat. Sometimes we just like to hang out. And as another awesome author says, he likes to come in and lurk and work. So I don't know if he'll be in here or not, but there might be some lurkers and workers. But thanks, everybody, for being here. I'll give some more shout-outs as people trickle in. But we are here to talk about Parker and his awesome book right here, this beautiful book that always just looks like it's lit up. I just love that cover. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Parker, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and then also a little bit about your book, what it's about, and then we can go from there.
Of course. Thank you, Chris. So I'm basically, aside from being a huge fantasy novel enthusiast, I'm living in Vineyard, Utah, pursuing my dream of being a writer while also working as a software engineer. During my free time when I'm not writing, I like to box at the gym. I'm way into boxing, and if you guys ever see a Legends boxing, go give it a try. The first lesson's free. Boxing is a huge creative outlet, and it's actually one of the reasons why I was able to finish my first novel, because they taught me how to be persistent, how to be dedicated. So along with being a writer, I take a lot of joy in participating in boxing, but also first and foremost being a part of this wonderful family that I have. I think my dad and my mom said that they were hopping on this call. If they are, thank you for coming to support. You both are just wonderful, and I've dedicated my first book to you, as you can see in the title page, to my parents. So I'm a big fantasy enthusiast, and my novel, Excalibur Pendragon, is my debut novel, and just the culmination of what I've been working on. But I'm also working on the sequel to the book, and should hopefully have that released end of next year.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. I was going to ask when the sequel is coming out. That's a pretty good turnaround after writing your first book. We both cannot get words out right? Your first book. Because it came out in 2022 at some point, right? I think.
It did. Yeah, that's right. End of 2022.
Oh yeah, nice.
Uh, that was the first time I'd ever published anything, and it was a
Wow,
huge learning experience just
I
because
bet.
being a self-published author, sometimes you have to learn how to do things the hard way at first. Just
Hmm.
because you don't have anyone holding your hand, you have to just learn from your experience and most often your mistakes. But I'm taking everything I've learned from publishing my first novel and working toward the second one.
Awesome. Very cool. Couple comments in here that I agree. Timothy said that's an awesome book title. That is a very cool book title. I agree. And then Timothy, I'm finding all sorts of stuff. Like Parker, I didn't know you boxed, and I didn't know Timothy tried MMA in his early 20s. That's pretty crazy, man.
Oh
But yeah,
wow.
getting punched in the face, that is not ideal, I suppose. But boxing, I guess it's probably a little better with boxing gloves, right? I mean, it still sucks, but
It also helps that you're wearing a helmet, where
yeah,
I would
that's true.
and you
That's true.
also work your way up to sparring, whereas in the beginning,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
more, cardio exercise and getting the conditioning for it.
Right, right. Exactly. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I have read a little bit of the book. Unfortunately, I haven't finished it yet because I always have so many things I'm trying to read. But I love already, like, you have me hooked right away. I love how it starts off. Um, I love the character Ryan. I love how in the very beginning, so this isn't a spoiler or anything, but he's in the principal's office. He got into trouble for fighting. His mom comes in, and you do so much with just with that scene where the principal's in there, Ryan, his mom. There's so much you do with your writing that I can already tell you do a great job with scenes, characters, dialogue. Um, so I just right away you had me hooked. So I'm excited to see where the story goes from there. So talk to me a little bit about how you came up with the idea for this book, why you decided to write this kind of story, and also just a little bit about your journey. Like, have you always wanted to write? When did you decide you wanted to really take it serious and write a book? Let me know a little bit about all that.
Sounds good. So I think I'll answer the first question by answering the second question. I started writing when I was a little kid, around 12, when I was going to school. I don't know how many teachers did this or continue to do this for their students, but they offer a creative writing project in which they encourage all of their students to write a story, do the illustrations, and then it will get laminated into this book. And we did that 3 times, once during the third, fourth, and fifth grade, and even the sixth, I think. And from that, I just got really invested in making stories and wanting to see it as a book. So uh, I
Pretty cool.
started I started the idea for Excalibur's Pendragon when I was 12, actually,
Oh
but
wow.
it gradually evolved over the
Mhm.
years. I mean, it started out with the character Ryan and some of his friends, but gradually I began to become more invested in the King Arthur mythology,
Mhm.
and so that I incorporated Ryan's story into Excalibur's Pendragon. Decided to focus a little bit more on him because I was trying to spread out the story across too many characters. I think
Oh yeah.
I still think I spread it out a lot in the first book, and there's going to be more of that in the following books. But I do like having multiple characters to see
Hmm.
the story from different perspectives. And one of the perspectives that I wanted to get for Ryan was someone who I think a lot of people can relate to these days. Especially after the COVID pandemic, there are a lot of people who feel isolated, anxious, depressed, and I published this book after that, thinking, this is something I think other people can relate to, and also maybe writing this character for them can help them learn how to overcome similar but different challenges in their own unique way. So I wanted to come up with a character who was caught in the chosen one paradigm, but have a little bit more of a unique or I don't know, realistic, kind of just like
Hmm.
have the character say how he's feeling during the process and also maybe even critique it a little bit.
That's pretty cool. I like that. I love when writers take tropes that have been around for a long time, or ideas or stories, kind of like the King Arthur stuff, but then can do something different with it and modernize it in a way where the characters, people can relate to them more because they're going through things that we all go through. And I love that. So I'm excited about that. And I love multi POV. And I don't know if you've seen it before, but every day I do a question of the day on my channel. And one time I did, what do people like the best? Like multi POVs, single POV, and multi POV won by a landslide. So don't worry about that. I think people love that. And I love it. So I'm excited. How many POVs do you end up having in the first book?
Ooh,
Rough estimate.
rough estimate. I think I focus on some more than others, but
Okay,
total I think 10.
Okay,
But,
that's sweet. Yeah, that's good.
but sometimes you'll just have a character, one of those POVs there for like 1 or 2 chapters.
Yeah.
But I still think it is a fun thing to include in a story, just because we see a lot of movies or stories in which it just focuses on one character, and that's good. But I think as of late, I like seeing different issues from different angles, and trying to understand how a problem can be seen in multiple ways.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. That's awesome. We had a couple more friends that came in. Dr. L. Logan from Novel Insights is here. And yes, he walked in right when we're talking about boxing and MMA, because Parker is into boxing, which is awesome. And then NA is here. NA, how's it going? Thanks for being here, my friend. And then Timothy loves lizard people. His books always have lizards and lizard people in them. So he wants to know if any of your POVs are lizard people.
Lizard people, like literal lizard people.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that-
let me show you one of his covers real quick.
Okay, go for it. Go for it. I'm really interested
Yes.
in what we're talking about.
This cover is sweet. Here, this is what he's talking about.
Oh wow, dang!
I know, pretty sweet.
Well, I kind of, ironically enough, I kind of have lizard people in my book, but
All right.
they are not quite what is on the book cover that I just saw.
Yeah.
The lizard people I'm talking about are more of the mutant creatures known as the Fomori from Celtic mythology.
Oh, that's sweet though.
Yeah. So yes, but
Hey,
no.
Timothy's in then, because he loves lizards. So if there's any lizard segue there, he's in. He's good. That's cool. Yep. See, he said that's awesome. I agree. And speaking of earlier, I talked about the lurker and worker, and the lurk and work. John A. Douglas is the author I was talking about. So he wants to know, if you had to fight another indie author or booktuber in a cage fight, who would it be, and do you think you could win? Ooh, I'll let you answer that one first.
Oh well, okay. In a
Now,
cage
this is
fight.
a cage fight. This is anything goes. So it's not. It wouldn't just be boxing, I guess.
Okay, well, I honestly I don't know, but I think I'd at least give them a run for their money. I
Yeah.
would. I mean, I have done sparring several times over several sessions, and I'm not the best, but I think I know how to keep up my guard and to cover the basics. I've learned a lot from my mistakes. At least
Nice.
that's what I'm telling myself. So maybe it'd be a tie, but I'd at least give them a run for their money.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm not much of a fighter. I'm more of a lover.
Hey,
So I
that's-
don't know. I don't know if there's anyone in mind that I would fight, and I would probably most likely lose. But yeah, I'm scrappy, so I would go down swinging.
I'm by nature I'm a non-confrontational person. So deciding to box
Me too.
at
Yeah.
least 3 years ago. I've been doing it for 3 years now, and so doing that was a bit of a shift, and but it was a huge confidence booster. And now I can at least say that I know some basics.
Yep, that's good. That's awesome, dude. I've always thought of that, because there's one of those legends places near me, and I've driven past it and thought that'd be kind of cool to do someday, but I haven't done it yet.
Oh, give it a
I
try.
know.
First lesson's free. First lesson's free.
Ooh, I know that you got me with that too. I did not know that, so that's pretty cool. John says you could box, but if you got no ground game, gonna get cooked. I don't know, man. He can tag team me in. I'll come out of nowhere. It'll be like a wrestling match. I'll jump down from the top. I got his back. We'll do it. Oh, let's see here. Dr. L said, oh, do you also like frog people? Dino Riders, I don't know what that is. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Dino Riders?
Can't say I really
Me
have.
neither.
Maybe I did, but I don't remember.
I know. I'll have to ask Mr. Novel Insights about that. So what were some of your inspirations, like reading wise? What was some of the stuff that got you into fantasy way back in the day when you were just a young lad?
Good question. I think some of the first books, Aragon was one of them.
Mhm.
Like that's a good one. That I think it came out around the time that I was a kid, like around 11 or 12, and that was a good one. I really got hooked on the Fablehaven series. Not sure how
Yeah,
many
yeah. I've
heard
never
about
read that one, but I've seen it. Yeah, it looked cool.
it's kids will love it, and the sequel series Dragon Watch is I read it as an adult and I really fell in love with it too.
Mhm.
I also read other books called the 11 Thumps series.
Well,
Maybe
I've never
these
heard of that.
it's by Orbit Sky.
Okay.
I don't know how many people are really into the same books I've been reading, but
Right.
I have been getting invested in other book series like Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson,
Nice. Okay.
and also enjoying other books. But when I was a kid, Fablehaven, Aragon, uh, and Eleven Thumps, those were some pretty influential books
Very cool.
that inspired me to want to write.
Okay. And then nowadays, being an author, do you also still find time to read, or is it hard with work and writing and everything else in life?
It is hard, but I still do find time to read. I
Nice.
do play audiobooks because
Mhm.
they help me to rest my eyes when
Yeah.
after staring at a computer
Oh
screen
yeah.
for
Yeah. Your job. Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah. So I find other ways to write and read even while working as a software engineer, uh, and it's fun to meet other indie authors as well and to discover some of their books.
Mhm.
I think you at one point had connected with Aaron Hall, an
Mhm.
author
Yep.
who had sent you Legend of I've
Yeah.
been reading
Yep.
that, and
Yep.
that
It
is
is.
an awesome comedy.
It's funny. Yeah. Yeah. He
Yeah.
does a good job with that for sure.
Yeah. I've also really got invested in a series known as the Skystone Chronicles by Blake and Raven Penn.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I wanted to read their stuff. Their covers are so nice.
oh, they're so amazing. And the
Yeah.
third book just came out and it is really good.
Oh,
It
good.
makes me really want to read the fourth one now.
Oh man, so you read all three already? The first three?
Uh, I am
You're
almost
working through the third one.
I am reading through the third one right
Okay.
now. And, their audiobooks also are top notch.
Oh,
They
that's good.
record the audiobooks themselves. The acting and the reading is amazing. So if you're looking for a really good audiobook,
Okay.
got the Skystone Chronicles. That's really
Yeah.
good.
Nice. Good to know. Senna, who Librarian Legs I told you about, she loves audio. That's all she does. So I can't remember. Do you have an audio of your book yet?
Oh, I've been trying to. Uh, I'm figuring out how to do that in the
Yeah.
first place. I'm focusing right now on getting book two out
Book
just
two.
because
Yeah.
book one's been out for a while and
Hmm.
I already know how to write a book, whereas recording an audiobook is a little tricky.
Something new. Yeah.
I would like to record the audiobook, narrate it myself.
Hmm.
We'll see how that goes, but that is something that I think will come around eventually.
Nice. That's good. That's awesome that you have plans. That's cool, man. Um, let's see. Shane came in here while we were talking. So Shane, what's up? Thanks for being here. Appreciate it, man. Um, so Dr. L, he says, I've heard of Aragon. It's because he does a lot, he reads thrillers mostly, but I'm getting him, breaking him into the fantasy stuff. I'm starting to get him to get interested in more fantasy. Well, not me, booktube in general, but I like to say I'm doing it.
Nice,
So
yeah.
yeah, so
We gotta get these people reading more fantasy books, man,
no, man, I
and
know.
just the awesome ones too.
Oh, I know. So you said you read Mistborn. How far have you gotten through the Casimir stuff?
Ooh, well,
Sanderson?
oh, sorry.
No, no, sorry. I continued on, but go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I've read the first Mistborn trilogy, and I started the second era Mistborn trilogy. I also read a few other of Sanderson's books.
Okay.
I think what was it called? There was a superhero one that he wrote, or it's kind of like a
Oh,
dystopian
yeah, yeah, yeah.
superhero.
Shoot, my mind just went blank.
Steelheart. Steelheart.
Steelheart.
That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah.
Nice. So
So,
you read quite a bit already then. That's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know enough to. I've read enough to know that Sanderson has a way with words, and a lot of
Mhm.
people really love his books. And I really love the conclusion of Mistborn Era
Mhm.
One. That's
Me
just
too.
really incredible
Oh
conclusion.
yeah, it sits with you for a while, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
it really does.
for sure. So no Stormlight yet.
I've been recommended that, and I think I'm going to get into it.
Nice.
Especially
Yeah, I
since
did.
oh,
No,
sorry.
go ahead. Nope, no, go ahead. It's
Here
all right.
we go again.
I know. I told you it happens a lot.
It
Go ahead.
happens a lot, but the fourth one, and I think the conclusion to the Stormlight Archive just came out Friday, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah.
Yep. 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 I just got it in last night. It just came in.
Heck
But I've only read the first Way of Kings. I'm on the second book, but I had to have it because I got all the other ones, so I had to
gosh.
get it, of course. But I've read Mistborn Era 1, and then I've read Elantris and Warbreaker, and then Way of Kings. So yeah, I haven't read Era 2 yet because in the reading order they say do Mistborn Era 1, for sure Warbreaker, and then some of Stormlight Archive, and then you can go into Era 2. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going out of order. I already
I think
started.
that's okay though. It
Yeah.
doesn't. He says as long as he says starting with Mistborn Era 1 is a great way to start the Cosmere, the connected universe, and
Right.
then after that it's like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you might miss some like nods to things if you don't do it in the exact order they say, but I don't think it matters.
Yeah,
As long as you're reading something, that's all.
definitely. And I have read Secret History, so
Oh, nice.
wanted to know the secret history of Era One, and
Yep. Yep.
that definitely opens your eyes to the Cosmere.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've read some of the short stuff, but I haven't read all of it yet, so I'll have to read more of that too. And then I hear Emperor's Soul is good. That's another good
Mm,
short one too.
okay.
Um, let's see, John. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. Have a good Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Let's see. All right, Timothy said last book of Mistborn Era 2 has a ton of references from the other books. Yeah. So read that last. I have heard that. I have heard if you go to Era 2, only go so far before you go back to Stormlight, or you'll have things like ruined for you. So I have heard that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So be careful since you're reading Era 2
I
before.
don't wanna ruin the Stormlight Archives
Right, right.
if it's yeah, I haven't even started it yet, so I don't wanna ruin it yet.
Right. No, no, exactly. And those books are huge too. So like
Yeah.
if you already had things ruined, it'd be hard to like go in, and that's something I do want to ask you as a reader and a writer. Do you I have a hard time like if I watch a movie or if I have something spoiled and I basically know what's going to happen in a book, especially if it's a big long book. I have a hard time reading it. I usually like to read something first before I watch or do other adaptations or know what happens in the story. Some people, if they know everything that happens, they can still read the book and enjoy it. But I have a hard time with that because there's just so much to read. How
Right.
about you? What about you? Do you
I
like to watch something first, then read it, or read, then watch, or does it not matter?
Ooh, that's a really good question because here's an example. The Count of Monte Cristo. I've
That is a
seen the
good one.
movie and read the book. I saw
Mhm,
the movie first before reading the book. I don't
mhm.
think I would have finished the book if I had not seen the movie.
That's true.
But I still really loved reading the book just because there are things in the book that aren't in the movie. Some
Right.
movie adaptations are very different from the book.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah. And for better or worse, I mean, like, the movie's still great, but, like, there's an entirely different message at the end of book 1, or it's the only book. At the end of the book, that just really sticks with you, and I'm going, "Wow, if this had happened in the movie, that would've been very interesting to see."
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would've gotten me thinking too.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I watched the movie a long time ago or parts of it, but I was like too, I don't know if I was too young to like be into it, but I I liked the story, so I read the book, but then with some of those old classic books, it's so easy to get bogged down with some of the writing just because it was so different then, and understanding what's happening, that I actually, while I was reading the physical written book, I read the graphic novel of it at the same time. And that was kind of cool. I'd read like some of the book and then read through that same section in the graphic novel to see it. So that was kind of cool. That helped me get through it pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good example. I guess older books, if I watched the movie, it would be kind of cool to go back and read the book. I could see that. I could do that. I like that.
Yeah.
So if your book gets made into a movie or a TV show someday, who would you want to cast as the main roles?
Oh,
I'm sure you've thought of it a little bit.
a little bit.
Or who you envision in your mind, like who would play those characters well?
Oh, good question. Let's see. Maybe the main character, someone who's like Tom Holland or
Okay.
something.
Yep. I could see that. Yeah.
They kind of have a resemblance or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's also Spider-Man too, so that's
yeah. That's cool. You can't go wrong with that.
yeah. So, someone like him. For one of the characters that's further into the book, I don't think you've encountered him just yet.
Not yet, probably.
He's basically this mysterious, lurking in the shadow protector,
Okay.
wielding the sword of Lancelot, called Arendite, and basically he's kind of like this really stoic protector kind of guy. Maybe Keanu Reeves.
Ooh.
I'd like him to play that. That would be fun.
That'd be cool. Oh man, that sells itself already. Keanu Reeves and Tom Holland together. That in a fantasy movie, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that.
And those two characters are two of the most significant people in the plot that I've written.
Okay. Nice.
And you'll at the end of the book you'll see like why each one is important.
Okay. So does it end on a cliffhanger, or does it wrap up but then leave things open for book 2?
There is a cliffhanger at the end, so I definitely would avoid reading the very last page.
I never do that. So some people do that, but I can't. That would spoil it for me. And then, like I said, if I know what happens, it's hard to read.
Yeah. But I did also write this book knowing that some people would want at least some kind of conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want just only a cliffhanger.
Completely a cliffhanger, yeah.
Yeah. It can't be
tie up some things. Yeah. I think that's the best way. I love that with trilogies and series. If there's like a small story within the book, but then a bigger overarching story, and you wrap up the small story, but of course the bigger story keeps going on. I think that's an awesome way to do it.
Definitely. Yeah. Otherwise you leave people wanting something, but never giving it to them.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. That's good. But now I know that I'm glad you're writing book 2 and working through it, because when I get to that cliffhanger, I'm going to be like, Parker, I need book 2 immediately. So
yeah.
That's good.
My goal is to get it out end of next year. I'm working as fast as I can, just because I'm also really enjoying the creative process too.
That's good, man. Yeah, and it needs. I think it's important. It needs to be fun, because when it becomes too much, like I mean, obviously everybody who writes hopes someday that could be their job, their one thing they focus on, but you still want it to be fun. You don't want it to feel like you're forcing it, or you're like, oh, I gotta write, even though but so that's good. I'm glad that you're enjoying it still. Keep that up, and when it comes out, it comes out.
Definitely. No need to rush creativity,
No.
but you gotta at least put pen to paper.
Yeah, but you gotta have a process, right? Because you can't just be like, we don't want to be like Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire, right? And just never finish stuff. So that's true. There is the other end of the pendulum, right?
Right. I feel so bad that there's that example that keeps getting referred to over and over, but it is.
I know. I know. I say that one because I love A Song of Ice and Fire, and I've read them. But we could have also said Patrick Rothfuss, but I haven't read Name of the Wind yet. So,
Gotcha.
Have you read either of those?
No, no, it sounds like
Okay.
I've got some more books to read, but
Well, hey,
they
those
s-
aren't finished yet,
those
so
aren't
keep
finished
them.
yet.
Keep them.
Okay.
Although Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, I would recommend still reading that just because it's pretty. Those are pretty fun.
Good, good. That sounds good. Yeah.
Let's see. I think NA said something about rereading. Yeah, so many things to read. Yeah, it's hard. Like I'm not much of a rereader of books. Sometimes I'll skim through something if I really like a book and like the next book comes out or the another book in the series, I might look through it to refresh my memory on what happened. I don't. Have you read any books where nowadays some authors do like a little refresh, not summary, but like a catch up? Like this is the story so far in the beginning of their book, if it's like a book 2 or book 3 or whatever. Have you seen any books that do that?
I know that the Aragon book series does it, the
Mm-hmm.
Inheritance Cycle.
Yeah.
They Christopher Paolini definitely like wants to keep readers up to date just
Right.
because his books are so huge.
Yeah.
Personally, my books are a little bit smaller,
Yeah.
and I've often felt like, why rewrite something when people can just
Yes.
enjoy going back to it in the
Right.
first place?
I know. Well, yeah, and the problem with that, I feel like too, is sometimes people might, because there's so much to read, they might be like, "Oh, sweet, here's a summary. I'll just read the last, the last book, and then not go back and read the other two." Or you never know. But yeah, if it's a long book and maybe it's been years since the last one came out, like for example, Song of Ice and Fire, he should probably do a story so far, just because it's been 15 years,
Right. Well,
But
another way of doing it, I've seen other authors without having to give a 2 to 3 page summary in the beginning. Uh, a really good story will build upon what was previously written. So you can
right,
still
yeah,
have characters say, "I'm doing this because of
right,
how
yeah,
something in book one
right.
influenced me."
Yeah,
So
throughout the book it kind of tells what happened. Yeah, I agree. I like when that. I think that's my favorite way. Um so yeah, I agree. That's good. I'm guessing that's how you're doing it in your book too then.
yeah, yeah, I'm trying to do that just because I feel like when something happens, people need to still kind of process it.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
by people, I mean the characters. We can't just have characters who go through things and never and like the events just don't seem to connect or
Right.
happen. Like, and that's why I've spent so much time working on this series because I wanted to get the overall story, like the plot for the books that I want to write, like solidified,
Yeah.
so that I can work toward a conclusion and have everything kind of connect.
Very cool. Timothy mentioned, I don't know if you've heard of P.L. Stewart. He's a really awesome indie author. He does The Drowned Kingdom, but sounds like he does a good job of recapping without an actual summary. That's true. Um, so you mentioned plotting out your whole story. So are you a plot? You sounds like you're a plotter then versus a pantser. So you like plot out the whole story and plot things out, outline things out. You don't just kind of write by the seat of your pants.
I'd like to think I'm a little bit of a hybrid between
Yeah.
it. You do need to have some kind of defined groundwork
Yeah.
for writing it, but once you like, for example, I will when I'm writing, I will uh, try to write like I'll have a certain number of sections, like chapters. Like the number of sections will change by the end of the book, likely. But then you just start putting out ideas into each one,
Hmm.
so that you can at least direct the flow of the plot. But then when you go back to each chapter, and I do that multiple times, uh, you kind of see it. Uh, the ideas start to develop as you get more into the details. But then you can also make sure that by going through this process multiple times, or at least this is how I do it, this is how
Right.
I like to work. By going through this process, you can write something at the end, at later on in the chapters, that you'll go, oh, I want a little bit of a foundation to this.
Hmm.
I want to lead up to this. So I'll go back to an earlier chapter and work that in a little bit.
Cool. I like that. Yeah, and I think because I do a little writing too, and I think I'm the same way. Like I like to know where I'm going and have the bare bones idea of it all, but then I like to see kind of where the characters take me to. Because have you, when you wrote book one, or why you've been writing book two, have you ever had like an idea in mind of what things are going to happen, but then as you're writing it, um, you change your mind because of a character? Like maybe there's a character that isn't going to have a big role, and then all of a sudden you kind of decide they need to have a bigger role, or maybe a character you're going to kill off and you decide not to, or the other way around. Like, have you had any of those kinds of things happen to you along the way?
Um, yeah, definitely. I'd say that uh, with those specific examples, including characters in certain books,
Mm-hmm.
for example, like book 2, would it be like twice as long if I wasn't splitting up some of the content into a
Okay.
third book? Book 3, I'm thinking it's going to be more of a interlude
Okay.
with some of the characters that are in book 1 that aren't going to be in book 2.
Okay.
So uh, killing off characters and figuring out in which books they're going to be, I definitely say that I've had to reevaluate just because I think book 2 would be a lot longer if it was.
Okay.
But I'm trying to write books that are roughly 200 to 300 pages each,
Mhm.
just so that I can get the story out a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think that's an awesome. I mean, everybody loves a chonker and stuff, but I mean, not everybody has time to read those, you know? And especially with that being the way a lot of fantasy traditionally published books go, that's what I love about a lot of indie books is that they're shorter and quicker, and you can just blow through a trilogy that's the same amount of pages as one sometimes traditionally published fantasy book. Um, and a lot of times it takes out a lot of the bloat that's in some of those traditionally published ones where you're like, this didn't need to be 1,200 pages, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas the indie ones, it's just, they just pull you in and they're so quick paced. And I love indie books. So I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Oh,
And I think it also makes it easier for kids to want to start reading fantasy
yeah.
sooner. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. And I think the King Arthur stuff with your book and having a younger protagonist also helps that too, which I think was a cool choice by you. I thought that was good. So let's talk about. I do want to talk so I don't forget. Sometimes I just get chatting and then I forget to ask about cover. I kind of want to hear your process with the cover. Like, how did you decide on it? How did you get here? How did it all go? Because I think when I've looked up your book cover to like get an image to make thumbnails and stuff, I've seen like a couple different versions. So let me know how that whole process has gone.
Yeah, that was a very interesting process. So, I could pull up some of the different copies that I have.
Yeah,
Just give
go
me
ahead if you want. Yeah, that'd
give
be
me
awesome.
1 second. All right.
And Sinna, I saw your comment. I know you as an audiobook, you probably avoid those chonkers because when you see it says 45 hours or whatever for a book, I'm sure it's like, I'll pass on that one. Oh man.
Okay, I'm back. So here's
All
the
right,
evolution of the book covers. And
let's see it.
I had fun doing all these book covers myself.
You did all these,
Yeah,
including this one?
yeah, I
Nice.
did that one too.
That
Yeah,
looks awesome, man. I love
yeah.
it.
I had an interest in being a graphic designer when I was in college. Switched to computer science,
Okay.
and yeah, but I still like doing the artwork, especially because along with being a writer, I love drawing and I love
Heck yeah.
painting. And I've had to do a lot of different prototyping, so to
Mhm.
speak. So that's another reason why the book covers have changed and why you can look up the title and you can say, wait, is that this book? Is that this book? Book 2 will be a little bit more. The cover for that will be a little bit more consistent, just
Okay.
because I'm going to stick with the style that I
Right.
currently have.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. You want them to be similar once you get a series going, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that or I need to write. That or I need to make a whole bunch of new book copies for each style that I did.
Oh
And
yeah, that's true. You don't want to do that.
there's no time for that. I'm
No.
a little bit of a simplistic guy when it comes to it. So this is the first.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is the first
Mm-hmm.
edition, and you can see that it has what is in that edition right there, the glowing symbol
Mm-hmm.
or the sigil of Excalibur, and the
Yep.
title is a little bit different. I got some input from different people to try coming up with a book that showed the characters a little bit more. So I experimented a little bit.
I saw that one. I was so you drew that?
I did. I
That's pretty
did.
good, man. I saw that. I'm like, that's pretty sweet.
Thank you. I this one actually took me a very long time to do
Mhm,
compared to the first and second one, just because I wanted to get the layout and the composition right. I
mhm.
did get feedback from certain people though, where they liked the simplistic look of the glowing
Oh,
symbol
yeah.
one.
I mean, this is sick. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I decided to go back to that one, but
Yeah.
try to refine it with what I learned from working on this book cover, and also figure out a way how to include the
Yeah.
words. Figuring
Oh,
out
yeah,
how
yeah,
to
yeah.
place them was the tricky part. So I
Oh,
just
yeah.
decided to put them at the bottom,
Yep.
just so that there wasn't any overlap
Mhm.
over this.
And it fits cool with the main, like, emblem and logo, like, the circle, like, and they're glowing, like, it just looks I think it looks awesome altogether.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. As an like, trust me, it took me a very long time to figure this out,
Oh,
and I'm
yeah, I
sure
bet,
that
man.
having the right cover that connects with people, that brings
Mhm.
them into the story,
Yeah.
it takes a little prototyping.
For sure, for sure. But I love that one you drew too. So if you ever do like art cards or something and you put that on anything, send one my way because that's
Yeah,
sweet, dude. I like it a lot. Or that would be cool on a bookmark too.
if it's good to hear that there are people who still like it in some way, just
Mhm.
because I did put a lot of time into that,
Yeah.
and it does show a little bit more about the story, I
Mhm.
feel. This is supposed to be like one of the last, scenes in the story, so to speak. So, not without giving away too much, without
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
too much. Right?
That's cool, man. Yeah, and or if you ever do an illustrated or special edition, you could draw a lot of your own stuff, which is pretty sweet.
I would very much love to do that, and as my style gets better, as I figure out how to illustrate books,
Mhm.
a little bit better, that will that is something I'd love to do. Maybe even do a comic. I'd
I was
love to
gonna
do
say
a
you
comic.
could do a graphic novel. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Doing a graphic novel would be so cool. I actually
Um, mhm.
started the idea as as a comic or a graphic
Oh, did you? Okay.
novel, but I felt like I needed to get the story solidified,
Yeah.
and so I just decided I need to get the story, and
Yeah.
I think that's what I care more about right now.
Right, right. Well, and for sure, and if you get the story out there and people know what it is and they're interested, then if you do the comic eventually, then it's even more like, oh, sweet, yeah, I read that book. I want to, then you plus drawing panel after panel after panel was going to take a long time. Even though writing a book takes a long time, but you can get words out. You can write a page probably quicker than you can draw a page. You know what I mean? So
Definitely.
yeah, I think that's the way to go for sure.
Major respect to comic artists who are
Oh
willing to
yeah,
put in that kind of time for it. I
yep.
guess at that point it's their job, but
Yeah, yeah, right. For
yeah.
sure. I agree. So what about hobby-wise? Have you had any influences? Like, do you do video games? Do you read other comics or graphic novels, manga? Do you watch a lot of TV shows or movies? Was there anything else in those realms that inspired you in your writing?
Ooh, good question. I think some of the video games I played when I was a kid
Mhm.
influenced me. Uh, this might sound a little funny, but The Legend of Spyro, the
Oh, heck yeah.
trilogy.
I
Did you
love that. Oh
that?
yeah, I played those games. I love those games.
I actually really loved that, and I think it got
Mhm.
me into the mood of
Nice.
writing this kind of story. There's something just about, like, the main protagonist being a dragon himself.
Mhm.
I know
Yeah,
there are plenty of books like that that do that these days, but
right.
that was the only video game during its time where that was, like, really a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's cool. Did you ever play because they did like a remake not too long ago. I didn't play it, but
Oh, like, I think that would have been one of the very earliest Spyro games,
mhm.
and I think the video game set that I played was specific to GameCube
Oh yeah,
and
that's what I played too. I didn't play the remake, but I know they've made like a newer one. I think the same game is just like updated to look better for newer systems or whatever, but
right,
I love those original ones, man.
definitely.
That
Well,
was my
thinking a
jam.
remake of that, I mean, some people hate on the series that I played,
Mhm.
but it had some of the cast from, like, Lord of the Rings
Oh yeah.
voicing the characters, and I'm going,
Yeah.
"Oh." and that's also one of my
Yeah.
all-time favorite like series, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, heck yeah.
So that
Yeah.
also influenced me. I loved watching those kind of movies.
Mhm.
Uh, Other hobbies, let's see. Yeah, I mean, there are so many. I'm just trying to think of. It's so hard to answer it all at
I
once.
know, I know. You already did great. You already had a great answer.
Great,
If you don't think of any more, that's okay.
cool. It'll come eventually. But
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll message me later and be like, "Ooh, this too."
this too,
That's
this
how
too.
it goes, right?
That's how it,
When you're not on the spot, it's a lot easier for it to come out.
story of my life.
Yeah, right? Me too. So you like Lord of the Rings then, what do you think of, Rings of Power?
Mm. I think it's very well thought out. Like everyone has their own opinions. I
Mhm,
really liked how they focus on the backgrounds of each character,
mhm.
and like especially I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but like there are very
Right.
significant characters that you kind of wonder,
Mhm.
well, why are they like this? Or
Yeah.
and granted, there's a lot of creative licensing going on.
Oh, yeah, for
It's
sure.
it's probably not exactly the way Tolkien envisioned, but it's pretty interesting to see how other creative people who really care about the Lord of the Rings story were pulled into the project and really did their best. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I personally like how it's going, and I'm looking forward to season 3.
Nice. Okay, I watched season 1, and I didn't dislike it. A lot of people hated it. I mean, I've always been someone that I can just I don't know, there's not many things that I've absolutely hated. Like, I can find enjoyment in most things, especially if it's like, I love Lord of the Rings, so if it's in that world, like, I'm gonna probably enjoy it. I haven't watched season 2 yet, though, so that's good to hear that you didn't dislike it strongly like some people have.
Well, season 2, it's very interesting because the villain of season 2,
Mhm.
who if you've seen season 1,
Right.
you
You know
know
who it's gonna
who
be.
the
Yeah.
villain is. You know who the villain is. You
Yeah.
can see how he's, uh, playing the game of chess and using opportunities. Granted, we don't aspire to be like this guy, of course, but,
Yeah,
like,
right.
you can
It's
kind of
interesting
understand the
stuff.
logic and the sophistication of his villainy.
Okay.
Granted, that is not something we should also aspire for either,
Right, no, yeah, we don't wanna do that.
right? But
True, true.
you can also understand, like, how this person was able to manipulate some people from it, and that is, like, I think the whole point of season 2 is to explain, like, how the villain was able to take advantage of the heroes or the good guys because of how he worked off of their own weaknesses, so to speak.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, very cool. I am gonna watch it soon, so I do plan to watch it. So I'm glad you liked it. Just saw that Avid Book Junkie popped in. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Um, okay, Lord of the Rings. So have you read the books and watched the movies, or just watched the movies, or just read the books? What's
I've read
your
the
Lord of the Rings experience?
I've read The Hobbit, and
Okay.
I've been really wanting to get back into Lord of the Rings. I read The Fellowship, or I tried to when I was in middle school.
Hmm.
I think I wasn't old enough to
Yeah,
really appreciate
same.
it during the time. Tried doing it during college, and was when I felt like it clicked a little bit more.
Yeah.
But then college got busy.
Yeah.
I was trying to graduate,
Yeah.
and I kind of put that aside. But I think what I'll do is I'll do an audio book listening of The Fellowship and The Two Towers and The Return of the King.
Nice. Yeah. That sounds like a good idea. Cause yeah, same with me. I read The Hobbit when I was younger, loved it. I watched the movies, and then I tried to read the Lord or the three books when I was in middle school, but I kind of skimmed through them, and then I read it again in high school, same thing. So I would love to go back now as an adult and like really like dig my teeth in and read through it because I mean, there's varied opinions on the books, but mostly people love them. So I would love to go back now as a more experienced reader, like you said, and actually read through them and take my time. So, and I think audio is a great way to go with those.
Right. And that's very interesting that we're talking about going back to the book series, because before that was a question like,
I
would you
know.
go back to reread something? And maybe you would just need a little bit of time for a change in perspective to
Right.
really appreciate that, or
Yeah.
to see how that book impacts a certain point of your life.
Yep. For sure. I agree. It hits different, right? At different points in your life. Let's see. The books don't get better. I don't know if that means they're not good, even if you go back when you get older, or if the trilogy itself, as you go through it, doesn't get better. I don't know. But Senna does audio, so she knows if they're good on audio. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's just so many things to read. It's like so many cool things, and more is going to keep coming out. There's not like your book too.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why I didn't go back to read
Yeah,
the series,
same.
because I had this brain baby of mine that I wanted to see through. I had started the journey, and I didn't like that I had never finished
Right.
the first book, because it sat on a shelf for a while, for years actually. And so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give it another try.
That's good. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
So what's like your ultimate plan for this series? Are you thinking trilogy, more than that? Do you have other things planned that are completely separate from it, or like offshoots in the same world? Like what's your long-term plans with your writing?
I think, at least for this series, I plan on having the story of Ryan Walker and the main characters in this series, have it go on for 5 to 6 books at most. I have a conclusion I'm working toward. I don't want to just keep writing more stories unless I feel like I can create an offshoot that is
Right.
meaningful for me
Yep.
and other people. Uh, I think I am interested in writing books that involve totally different worlds too,
Mm-hmm.
or totally different stories at least.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a comedy. Maybe it'll be a more of a science fiction. Maybe it'll be maybe it'll be something more realistic. As of right now, I'm focusing on this book series, the Ethervard Legacy, and my goal is that as I keep writing more, maybe I'll be able to connect with more readers and see how this goes. But first and foremost, I like to write because of how it makes me feel.
That's awesome, man. Keep that, and you'll do well, I think. So I should ask, because we're getting close, because I think we both only had an hour of time, so we can't go too much past an hour. So there's always things people want to know when I have authors on here, and I want to make sure I don't forget to ask you. So there's usually, let me see, I think two things people always want me to ask. So favorite book or
Oh,
series, and favorite author. And they don't have to be the same. They could be different. Generally, end up being the same, but they don't have to be.
good question. Good questions, and such a hard answer to.
I know.
Such a hard answer to, especially depending on my mood.
I
Totally
know. I
depending
know.
on my mood. I'll just say, like, who I really appreciate right now, just because of like how meaningful I found their books. So let's see. Right now, and they're an indie couple right now.
Okay.
Lake and
Mhm.
Raven Pens,
Nice.
Skystone Chronicles. Uh, their book series, like like being an indie author series, uh,
Mhm.
is phenomenal. I just want to
Oh,
add that it's won so many different awards.
yep.
It has so much depth to every character in the story, and the overall messages behind it is so meaningful and relatable. There's a story about loss, revenge, learning how to forgive people, and also not just for them, but also for yourself, so that you can have a future. These are very meaningful stories in my book, and I
Nice.
highly recommend the Skystone Chronicles to fantasy readers, especially because I think it's good for young readers. It's very family friendly. I think they can really get behind that. So that is my favorite book as of right now. I don't feel like it's fair to say what my favorite book is of all time, just because it always changes. It
Oh
always
yeah.
changes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
And
good.
yeah, let's see. Favorite author? Favorite author. Let's see. I think it does come back to Brandon Mole. the author of the Fablehaven series.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Okay.
he ended up writing this really beautiful ending to the Fablehaven book series that I really connected with. And he also shared his own personal story about how he felt like writing this story helped him and
Okay.
like get through a hard spot in his life, and how writing this story helped him to heal, and also
Very
how
cool.
I think other people could read the end of the Dragon Watch series, like that last book,
Hmm.
and find, or at least the last three books of that overall Fablehaven Dragon Watch series, and those last three books will be enough to tell that story and to kind of appreciate the message that Brandon Mole was getting across.
Very
And
cool.
that's not easy
Very
for
nice
writers
answers.
to be that vulnerable sometimes.
Yeah.
That vulnerable, and I think uh, it's a skill. I mean, you don't want to just like pour out your entire soul to people.
Right.
That's but him sharing that story taught me that when you're writing a story, you don't have to. You can write it for yourself at the very least, but also you can write it and maybe it'll help another person.
Very cool. Very cool. I love it. That's a beautifully worded answer. Can tell you're a writer, and it's just like you're writing. If people have not checked out your book yet, they should, because your writing is very beautiful too, my friend. So
Thank you.
well
That
done.
that means a lot to me. Thank you. And I know that you are reading a lot of fantasy novels, and so the fact that you're reading my story means a lot. Thank you very much, Chris.
You're welcome. Um, Senna said, I don't know if you have any of these in your writing so far, but favorite made up swear word.
Favorite made up swear word?
Do you
Uh,
have any made up cursing type words in your stories in your books yet?
well, I have one and
Okay.
only one.
Well, then that's your favorite.
I guess it's you'd have to know the spot, but it's just like
Okay.
you won't know it's a swear word unless
Unless you're reading it, like,
yeah. And the swear word is actually the name of this villain. So
okay.
basically, it's like this person saying, "Oh, the name of this guy," because it's
Oh,
how
nice.
bad this
Okay.
person is.
All right. So I'm gonna be looking for that then. I'll remember that.
Sounds good.
Nice. Awesome. All right. So we are at just after 4. So we'll wrap it up here. This flew by, man. It was so much fun. Thank you
It
so much
did.
for coming on.
I had so much fun, Chris. This was a genuine treat for me, and I'd love to do it again in the
For
future.
sure.
Yeah, this was just
Yeah.
overall really a blast. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I you'll definitely do it again for sure when book 2 is coming out. And then if we find any other reason to, I would love to have you on again because it was fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone in the comments. You have a great weekend too, Tim. I agree. It was a fun chat. You're very welcome. It was awesome. Thank you guys for being in here. Avid Book Junkie, thank you for being here. I appreciate it, man. So, yeah, everybody in the chat, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I don't have it in there now, but as soon as I'm done with this, I'll put links to Parker's book so that you guys can go check it out. It's back here again. Beautiful. Look at it, just shining, telling you, read me now. It's very good. And Parker, thank you again, man. Like I said, it was great. We had a great time, and I appreciate it. We'll do it again very soon. So yeah, everybody enjoy your weekend. And if you haven't seen, because you were in here shortly before I did this, I did drop my weekly Saturday book mail video. So, and Parker's book was on one of those
Oh, dang.
back not too long ago. So check that out too if you haven't yet. And I'll do my weekly wrap up tomorrow. But everybody, thanks for being in here. And as I always say, until I see you in the next one, devour your TBRs, be brave, be beautiful to one another, and be beastly. We'll see you, everybody. Take care.